I think we're on, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're on. Testing 1 2. Deidre, can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir. Can you hear me?
Nice, nice. Yes, yes. I think we're live. We're good. Yeah. So I want to say, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, happy May 1st. If you're in the East Coast, it is midnight here in the East Coast, Eastern Daylight Time. So happy May. If you're not in the East Coast, you are still in April. You can still make some amazing memories as we close April out. And if you're tuning in from around the world, thank you so much. I mean, what an amazing, amazing platform. My hat's off. You know, I'm a veteran, a Marine veteran of 26 years. So I salute Tony Lynch and Dee and everyone behind the scenes who made this 2022 global grief conference, you know, streamed on multiple social media platforms. That's live stream around the world where multiple human beings can get a chance for free to learn about grieving, some things about it. Maybe they gain a better understanding of grieving. But again, to the team who's made this happen, thank you so much. Chicken Fox Production, world class again. I've had a chance over the last few days to watch some of the presenters in the pathways of speakers, and then on the workshop side again, the bandwidth. I don't know what you guys did with the bandwidth. Maybe you guys got good credit cards, but definitely, um, good job on that. My name is Mario P. Fields, and I will be your host. My co-host is Deidre Kelko. I'll let her introduce herself here in a second. I'm also, of course, you guys saw on the banner, I'm the founder and president of a nonprofit 501c3 called Still Serving Incorporated. But
I tell you, won't he do it? We serve an amazing God, Mario, and everything I've been doing has been for my healing initially and then to support others.
yeah,
And let me tell you, I'm having the time of my life. I'm grateful. I've learned a lot in this life since, well, my whole life, but since I started my company, Go Within, Not Without. That's also my website. So if people want to get in contact with me, they can do that.
yeah.
But I'm so grateful to you. I'm grateful for having the time and energy to talk about the things that we do talk about because we've had some serious conversations.
Yes, we have, and we're about to have it. And they gave us. I don't know if they were thinking when they gave us 2 hours. I think we could. You and I could do 10 hours. I mean, I really believe that.
Yes, me too.
I mean, so let's get right into it. Let's get right into the workshop. We have a lot of battles while living. We know that. I mean, none of us can predict what's going to happen at all each second of the day. But defeating grief by owning your past, how do you win, become victorious, not a victim, but a victor
That's right.
when it comes to your past and grief? Let's start with, let's just, you and I discuss first of all, how did your past, and I'll talk about my past too. Let's talk about some past events, and before we even knew we were grieving.
Yes, yes. And grief is not just about the death of someone
Yeah.
in your life. And that's been a thread that I've heard throughout some of the conversations today and yesterday. And that is, we grieve the normalcy if our child has some differences that when they're born. We
Right.
grieve, for me, my life, I've grieved not being able to conceive a child. I am a late discovery adoptee. And so once I found out I was adopted, I grieved the thought of being with my birth family. We grieve in many ways. And while I was doing some research on getting together with you, Mario, a big portion that I read about was the grief of our pets when they pass on.
Mm. So a couple of things, and especially if we have some veterans watching or will watch this episode. And I didn't think about this. A lot of veterans really struggle when they transition. And I never thought about, you could be grieving the disconnection from the tribe.
Yes, sir.
Never until now, never thought about, a lot of that could be you're grieving.
Yes.
You're grieving that belonging, that the commonalities. A statistic I found yesterday was, or the other day, I didn't realize that the labor market consists of 5.6% veterans.
Wow.
Yeah, and the other 95.4% have never served in the labor
Isn't that
market.
amazing?
And I was like, it just listen to, I'm like, a lot of us are probably grieving and don't even realize. And I agree, it's not just death; it could be the separation of something. And the second thing, Deidre, I'm glad you brought up, is my Maltese. We have two Maltese. We had, my wife and I, in 2006 in Okinawa, we bought our first. Well, 2007 we bought our first one. His name is Snoopy. And then Scrappy, I was in Iraq when we got Scrappy in 2008. I named him Scrappy. You got to be careful what you name your dogs because they act like that. But he passed away 2 years ago. And to this day, Nicole and I still, there's triggers, but not
Yes, sir.
realizing that we could still be grieving over the death of Scrappy.
And you know what, Mario, you're absolutely right. I was listening to I told you I listen to all kind of stuff. And so I'm looking up because I took some notes. And one of the things that I heard while listening to TED Talks and other things is grief is so uncomfortable. We don't, people tell you to get over it, and you don't get over it. You
Right.
take it with you throughout your life. And I think as we begin to make some normalcy about grief and allowing people to say, hey, man, I'm grieving. I was a child welfare worker, and so I investigated abuse and neglect.
Mm.
And we used to talk about how we grieve the loss of that lifestyle that would tell us that there were white picket fences, that people behind those doors were doing the right things. And then when you begin to do work and when you began being in armed services and war,
Yeah.
you grieve the facts of all of the stuff that you learn that are not positive. I was married to a Vietnam vet, and we've talked about him as well. God rest his soul. He passed last year, and you could tell he grieved when we had to apply for his disability.
Mm,
Mario, taking him back through all of the things that he had to talk about
yeah.
and write. Had I known then what I know now, I think it would have been different. But when we know better, we do better. But
Yeah,
that grief,
Deidre, going back to, and talking about owning your past. And I like how you said, people say, you just get over it. Right, Mario, why do you still have your brother's obituary? Just get over it. You'll be all right. But like you said, eh, either if you don't own your past, if you don't own it and go, okay, it happened. All right, I can't change it. This happened. Now what's the next step? And I know you're a brain spotting advocate and expert. And you talked about how even when your husband, and again, I salute him, simplifying, God rest his soul, how when he had to go back through his disability journey and probably recall and relive some of the things. I guess the question now that I know today would be, what was it difficult because he didn't own his past? He didn't accept it.
yes.
And I even think about myself, like what things in my past, as I'm listening to these presenters and going through workshops and talking to you, is making me self-reflect and go, what part of my past am I still grieving because I haven't owned it yet?
And Mario, as we talk about brain spotting, but before I do that,
Yeah.
I I have done the same thing over these past couple of days. I've looked at my past and where had I not owned my past or my grief. And what I know is that through brain spotting, let me harken back. We hold our brain is miraculous. I won't go too deep this time, Mario. I'll try.
Hey, we got time, Deidre. Hey, we have look. I got some inspiration, and ladies and gentlemen, it's water.
Me too.
We have so much. I think this is so important. So please take the time to really help the listeners and viewers um, gain the tools and skill sets to what does that mean to own your past, what's in this organ called the brain. By the way, the brain ain't got a delete button.
No. In fact, what we say in brain spotting is where you look affects how you feel.
Mm,
And why that is you are connected. Your brain is connected to your eyes. Good example, when you're talking to somebody and you're trying to recall something in the past,
yeah.
you might look up, you might say, "Mm,
Yep.
that's gaze spotting, Gaze.
Mm,
And what that means is you're connecting to a memory that is not in the front of your brain, but you've got to pull that file cabinet out and get that file out from in the back there. And
yeah. That makes sense. Why people say, if you really want to learn a lot about somebody, watch their nonverbals, and that's their eyes. Because when
correct,
you ask them a question, you can really tell a lot the way their eyes move.
correct, correct. And that's because what it's doing is our brain, this just this is a little bitty brain, and it's not the color of our brains, but it's good for an example. Our neocortex is where our language is, right?
Hmm.
And that's where when we're in therapy, when we're talking, that's where our communication is verbal. When we look internal in our brain and look at our mammalian and reptilian brain,
Yeah.
it doesn't know communicate, it doesn't know verbal communication. And what our brain has done is those trauma capsules, I call them, and we call them in brain spotting, where we've had things to happen to us, our grief from childhood, our grief from adulthood, our grief from not being who we thought we were going to be. Those things are encapsulated in the back of our brain, and they don't heal because
Wow.
they are not brought up. And so brain spotting goes deep. It
Wow.
helps you to get into a deeper part of your brain and heal some of those capsules, unwind them, and heal them. This was founded by Dr. David Grand when he was doing what was EMDR, and that's another modality of therapy. And he had a skater, an ice skater, who could not complete a triple loop. And he had been working with her for a long time on her trauma. And one day, as he was doing EMDR with her, he watched her eyes start to rapidly move. And that was the start of brain spotting. And what he found was she could process some of the trauma that they had already processed but had not cleared. With EMDR, she could do in brain spotting. Do you know that the young lady went back on the ice after that and has never had a problem with the triple loop again?
Wow. You know, Deidre, and I'm just listening to you and thinking about all the traumatic events, and I can't speak for anyone else, but even for me to help the audience and thinking about any event that I have defined as traumatic to me may not be traumatic to someone else. And ladies and gentlemen, there may be things that are not traumatic to your friends or your colleagues or your family members, but they may be traumatic to you. But understanding the science of the organ called the brain, and how you just highlighted, Deidre, how it goes in through our senses, our feelings, right? Sight, hearing, smell, all of our
Yeah.
feelings. It comes in, but then it goes in the back and it's stored. And I think sometimes we get comfortable
Yes.
with not bringing that back up and then owning it. And I love how you talked about how in brain spotting, how it not only teaches you the science, and it gives you a skill of bringing those traumas back up to the front, to the communication area, but dealing with them.
Yes.
And and what, so one example I'll give you that's helped me since I've met you was the death of my brother and my mom, and I'll pull her. You know, and the reason why I kept these, this is her obituary. She's pretty too, by the way.
Absolutely gorgeous.
They say I am the male dark version of her. so so and ladies and gentlemen, you know, Deidre and I had a wonderful conversation of last week, and when you started to really introduce me into brain spotting and how that helps you defeat grief and own your past and really ask yourself questions. Why am I, why am I behaving, why am I doing this? I told my wife, I said, now it doesn't bother me to throw away my mom's obituary. That's not her. Why am I even why do I even feel horrible to think about throwing it away? Right.
Yes. Do you want me to tell the story too? And tell me why. Why did you feel that way? Why did you feel?
And you know, the thing is, I didn't know why I felt that way until I met you, until we talked about brain spotting. If you would have interviewed me, hi, I'm live on Channel 7 News. We got Mario P. Fields. You know, Mario, can you tell the world why are you holding on to your mom and your brother's obituary? Well, Deidre, thanks for that amazing question. I don't know. I couldn't answer it. But now I realize, because I was still grieving. Even
Yes,
though
sir.
I thought I wasn't, I was still grieving. And after going back and going, I can't change, you know, July the 4th of 2016. Can't change it. So let's own it. It happened. And this piece of paper is not her. So now I know why, because I was grieving.
Yes.
Where now I'm at the point as of May 1st of 2022 where no, I don't need these. I've only brought them up for the conference.
You know, Mario, it's amazing. I learned to be a brain spotter because I wanted to support myself and others in the adoption community, but it definitely is about the grief. And what I realized is one of the times that I brain spotted was I um, I always feel like I need to say I'm not a hoarder, but I do hold on and embrace things that people have given me.
Right.
And so I wanted to brain spot and see why was I holding on to
Mm.
things that no longer served me. And I came up with exactly what you did, and that was my former mother-in-law, my mama, my daddy, people who were important to me. I couldn't get rid of some of their things because my belief was it was them. So when I put on that top, when I put on those jeans, when I looked in that mirror, or as they hung in my closet until they were too big, not too small, right?
What'd you say? You said you found a pair of jeans you used to wear in the 1980s. You wait a minute.
And we brain spotted it, and I realized it was my grief. It was my belief that those things kept me connected
Mm-hmm.
to those people. And when I realized it wasn't that, it has been an amazing journey of getting rid of things. I I just remembering my dad, who meant so much to me, who was the sweetest man on this earth, and he had a sweet tooth, and I do too. And I can remember my mother raising, Holy Cane with him. That girl's hips gonna be wide as Gibraltar. Don't give her no more of that cane.
I can sympathize and empathize, and if I was light skinned, I'll be blushing right now because I have a sweet jaw. I'm not even gonna say sweet tooth. I think so. Anyway,
So I said to my friend, I want you to brain spot me. I want to figure out, why am I having this dual feeling about this?
yeah,
And it was exactly that. Part of me was remembering how wonderful it was to partake with my dad into those sweets. And the other part of me was grieving, even though my mother was not nice about not wanting me to have it. It still was that all needed to come up and to be healed. And it's amazing now. I hate to admit it, but this morning I got me a piece of chocolate. And it was like, oh, I ate that too fast. I didn't even enjoy it. So, I had to have a second one
I,
and sit down and see how we do that.
I
We
like that.
justify.
I like. By the way, that's a good skill, ladies and gentlemen. Eat the first one super fast. Um, so that way there's reasons to have one more.
Absolutely, that's
You,
right.
you
And
know, so quick question, Deidre.
sure.
Do you think or do you believe that, because my belief is that a lot of people hold on to things in their cars, in their house that resemble somebody that doesn't belong here anymore. They're gone. Do you believe that holding on to those things could actually prevent you from getting over grief?
Oh, absolutely. I know it can. And let me say this, Maria, as we talk
Yeah.
to the audience here, please know, don't compare your grief to anybody else's.
Amen.
Is yours to deal with. And all of us, none of us are going to leave this world without some kind of grief,
Yeah.
right? This is something we all share. We all share this. And so, yes, it is my belief that we hold on to things, and until we can let go, we still hold on to our past. We still look back. And we're not made to do that. We are here to thrive and to support ourselves and others
Yeah.
and to laugh and to smile. And the sooner we move forward from that place of grief, the better off we are.
Yeah, yeah, and and too, like you say, it's your past. It's not your cousin's past. It's not your sister, your brother's past, or your neighbor's past. It's yours. And
It is.
even if you and a person was in the same area, same situation, you both still probably have a different recollection of what happened. And
Yes.
so one I can't remember where I heard this from, but one of my good friends, his name is Jerry Washington. I love him. He's amazing. But him and I was I can't remember what we were watching, but we were working on. He was helping me continue to develop a accurate way of thinking, right? And in this interview, the gentleman said there's about 7.8 billion humans on Earth, and there's 7.8 billion galaxies. In other words, every human, there's not one human on earth that shares the same exact experiences and recollections and memories. So it's yours. And like you said, Deidre, you gotta own your past and accept it first. And no one's grief is exactly the same.
You know, when my father passed, and I tease about my mother was, she did the best she knew to do, but she was not the warmest person. But
Mm,
after my father passed, I was in high school, my junior year of high school, and I just couldn't seem to get myself together. And I said to her, I need to see a counselor.
hmm,
And she allowed it. And I say that because obviously I was young enough that she had to make those decisions for me.
right.
And I went to this grief counselor, and he said to me the best thing I ever learned about grief, and that was, who has the right to tell you how long to grieve?
You know, is right. Right. And before my mother died, I used to hear stories about people and they would say, "Oh, he or she grieved for 10 years, or they grieved for 20 years, or so and so is still grieving." And I used to be like, "Man, that's a long time. How can again, how can you grieve for 10 years? Good gosh. Just
Yep.
it happened, cry it out, right? Get on with it." And then when my mom died, I was like, man, it's year 4 and I'm still grieving.
Yep.
There is no time limit.
That's right. That's right. My former mother-in-law passed last year, and she was my one of my greatest cheerleaders. And so when I wrote my first book anthology, when I co-authored, I could just hear her voice in my head. Um, she used to call me by a famous person's name and say I reminded her. I'm not going to say who it was, but I could just hear her saying, "Go ahead, so and so," you know. And that's the joy. We can grieve, and yes, I miss her dearly, and I miss our laughing at the grocery store. But I also have those good memories. And there are days when I say, okay, I'm not feeling too good about this, but I know that there are things that I can do to lift myself. And so that's what we have to learn is grief, it's going to come. That is never, it's always going to be a sad memory, right?
Right.
Grief is always going to be sad. But when we start to move past that and remember the good things, I'm so grateful I had Ella D in my life. You know, I'm so grateful that she gave me things. I mean, she used to tease me all the time about what I'd wear and wouldn't wear. She'd come to my house and I'd have tags on my clothes still. And now, when I pull some out the closet and it has a tag, I'm like, okay, Ella D, I'm taking it off. You know, so those are the memories that move us forward instead of keeping us stuck.
Yeah. And that goes right into our banner. The theme is the word defeat, defeating grief. And I like how you talked about it's not about not grieving. You know, grieving is a natural human process. In living with grief, it's okay. It's okay to live with it. It's going to be there. We can't get rid of it.
Mm-mm.
But I like how you talked about the word, and it to me, it really supports the word defeat. But don't let it paralyze you. Move forward and continue to progress and live your life without being kind of stuck and paralyzed, where you're not really progressing and moving forward. And I like how you talked about that. Have you ever had not have you ever had a time looking back, Deidre, where you realize you were grieving and you were stuck?
Yes. So, so I'm, you know how I am, Mario. I'm just going to tell it like it is.
I hope so. Again, this is unarmored. Our theme, going with our theme. This is
Mhm.
unarmored. This is to help. It's a workshop to help the listeners and viewers, even me, and I'm learning. To get the unarmored, um, real information
Yeah.
to help us.
Yes. So my former husband, I was a Vietnam vet, and he had PTSD really bad, and had uh, Hep C, and he went through a lot
Yeah.
with treatment. The best man I've ever known, as far as he wouldn't have harmed a fly. And he had had enough of being married. He just could no longer take it. His brain, his body was shutting down on him. So he told me he didn't want to be married anymore.
Mm.
I never thought that would happen to me. His family was my family. I lost again. Now I'm grieving another loss. This is the third for me family. I've lost my birth family, my adoptive family, now my family. And I'll never forget, I wouldn't date. I didn't do anything until my divorce was final. I mean, I had the papers in my hand before I dated.
Wow. And
And
how long were you married, Deidre?
we were married over 25 years.
Wow.
There's happy endings to this, but so let me tell you. So the first time I went out with a guy and I kissed him, the first person I called was my ex-husband. I didn't say to him, I just kissed the dude.
Yeah.
I just needed his calming voice because he had been the man in my life for so long. And I was grieving, Mario. I was grieving
Yeah.
that relationship. Here's the good thing. My king now, my ex-husband, when he was alive, and his family became our family. His sisters became my family again. He used to come here and we would all eat every holiday together with his mother, his sisters, and my king now. And so it became such a wonderful experience for all of us. But there was a time when it wasn't fun.
Right.
It was grief where I had lost everything
Right.
in my mind's eye. But once I had the divorce, I became a life coach. And I always say it was, I did it for me, and I took it a second time so that I could support others. And I used to ask him, "Can I tell our story?" Because it was harrowing. We went through a lot.
Right.
But I'm
Right.
so grateful that he allowed me to be a part of his healing as well as mine. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah. 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 And again, the thing, another thing you highlighted was that you're grieving over someone or something, and now you're looking for that approval. That,
Yes.
and I would have never thought that's an indicator. Again, I would have never thought that part of defeating grief is stop looking for approval from mom or dad or my ex-husband, or right, you do something, you create something, you do something amazing in your eyes. You're like, oh man, I did it. I started my own business. I did this. and everyone's cheering for you, but you're not super satisfied because you're looking for that one person, maybe my ex-husband, or mom or dad, to go, I'm proud of you. I never knew that could be a form of grieving. Listen to it.
Yes. Yes.
Never even thought about it. And I hope the listeners, the viewers, and listeners and viewers are really thinking and listening to this, because on live on air, I'm going back through my life, even as an adult, going, why am I always looking for acceptance or confirmation on certain things from my wife? And if she doesn't do it, I feel like she's not supporting me. You know what I mean? Like if she doesn't share a post or something, I'm going, but that's not because she doesn't support me. That's deeper. That's grieving because mom is gone. Wow. And
And Mario,
I'm stuck.
yes, and that's why I love brain spotting, because brain spotting is so good, especially for our veterans,
Yeah.
because there's no language. You don't have to talk. When we get you activated and find in your body where you're feeling dis-ease, we can heal it, and you won't have to even talk about it. People say to me, what just happened? I'm like, you can't explain it, right? And they're like, it's no words, because there is no language there. And the trauma, or even as easy as setting goals and you're not sure they align with where you want your business to go.
Right.
Even making a decision about a house or anything. But as we talk about grief, going back and feeling in your body where you're holding the positive, or what would help you to know that mom and dad are okay on the other side. We connect with that, and you do the work. We are at the tail of the comet as a practitioner. You are the head of the comet. And there is a acronym we use, and it's WAIT, WAIT. Now, I'm a shrinking violet and don't like to talk, so it doesn't bother me. And WAIT means WAIT means, why am I talking? I don't need to say a word. I need to allow the person to heal, because there's so many thoughts we have every second of the day. Right. There's no way I could tell you what you're thinking, how you're feeling. And people need to learn to trust themselves. When you're little and say, my tooth hurt, my mother would say, you're a hypochondriac. Ain't nothing wrong with you.
Well,
we don't learn.
Well, I'm still little, so
my saying is, God takes care of fools and babies, and I fit in both categories.
Maybe that's why I got that special treatment. So, and I love the acronym WAIT. I wrote it down. Why am I talking? And the ability to do some therapy through brain spotting without talking. A lot of times, they say, hey, go see your therapist, right? Go see the psychologist and go see your therapist. And me, like the old day. I mean, I don't think it happens now, but some of the old days, you walk in and have a leather couch and a nice cigarette. So, Mario, what's going on in your world, right? And you would just sit there and talk for hours. But brain spotting, from my understanding, Deidre, is you don't have to talk, and healing from those traumas that are stored in the back of your brain. You can silently continue to start to work on those. Is that accurate?
That is absolutely it, Mario. And that's why I love it for so many reasons. But that is so important, especially I know we are international here, and I don't mean this in any other way, but from my experience, especially for our brown, BIPOC, Black, Indigenous people of color.
Yeah.
The trauma, the shame of some of the things that we've been through are unspeakable. I took a course the other week on generational curses and brain spotting that. This is important that we heal, grieving who we thought we were going to be, grieving the loss of our child because they are diabetic or because they have diabetes, not because they're diabetic. I watch my words. But whatever it is that we're grieving, because they're not going to be the doctor that we wanted them to be.
Oh yeah.
I mean, let's just be real. Because they're differently, there may be LGBTQ, and you've learned in your lifetime, no, that's not okay. Or they've died by suicide, so you have shame. We can, not only me, there are brain spotters across the world. I'm not for everybody, we know that. But there is somebody out there that knows how to do this. There's studies that tell us about this. This is not some woo-woo pie in the sky stuff.
Right.
This heals, Mario. I can show people how to do it for themselves. Now, we don't recommend that you brain spot trauma, but this is the kind of person I am. So I'm thinking about something and I'm like, wonder what I should do about that. I'm going in here and brain spot. So I come in here and I get my little brain spotting thing and I find where I'm activated and I watch it and I calm down and the activation goes down.
Wow. Yeah. So another example, listening to you, Deidre, then I'm going to ask you to do something for me, but for the audience, I'm thinking for the first time about my own adult children, and more so specifically my own son. I mean, he's a Mario Jr., but he's total opposite of his dad. He doesn't like to, if I try to give him advice, he just doesn't like it. Like the best thing for me to do is not say much around him. That improves our relationship if I don't speak much. Isn't that interesting? And
wait, why am I talking? Right? You need that one.
Absolutely. And why am I talking? He's got, and again, I have nothing against tattoos, but he's got tattoos all over his body, knuckles, neck. Like when people see my son, they go, Sergeant Major. That's Mario. I'm like, yeah. They're like, okay, he's good. You're total opposite of his father. And I like how you brought up that we as parents may have imaginations and beliefs on what we believe our children should grow up to be. When that doesn't happen, no one has never told me that you could grieve as a parent when that doesn't happen. And just listening to you now and on live, live, we're here streaming. I'm starting to reflect back on my own 25-year-old son and going, I probably have been grieving since he was in high school, because everything I had imagined, except he's tall. I said, there's nothing wrong with being a short, human being. But right, the traumas, I'm like, I just want you to be tall as a man so you don't have to deal with what dad had to go through. But he's total opposite. And now listening to you, I've probably been grieving since he was 17. And what is he, 25, 8 years? Because it's like, why couldn't he have been this? Or why couldn't he have not just stopped at one tattoo or made this decision or not do, whatever. And so thank you for that. And I hope anyone watching are thinking, if they're a parent, I hope this is helping them understand too, except that you can't change the way that adult child or teenager or child has developed. accept it. Understand that you're going to be disappointed or you may grieve for years about it, but don't let it ruin the relationship, you know.
And so I'm going to be raw here. I was unable to conceive children, and when I told my birth mother that I'm sorry, my adoptive mother, that I knew I was adopted, she disowned me, and she told me she did something to me, and I'd never be able to have children.
Wow.
And so whether that were true or not, I don't know, but the power of suggestion, was that grieving when I was a young adult and realized that she had possibly done something to me that I would never be able to conceive and have a child of my own? I think it might have been.
Wow.
I did all kinds of stuff. I mean, we went to doctors, we did all kinds of stuff. But anyway, so we adopted a child whose mother chose us. Beautiful baby, we adopted at 10 days old. This child has so much trauma. She's an adult now. And Mario, she did the same thing. We raised her in a middle-class family.
Right.
She turned 18 and she took my money on her birthday and got a tattoo on her neck of a crown. Now, I'm not trying. Let me tell you. And her father and I had divorced, and I was livid. Had I known a different way to handle things then,
Right.
I couldn't change it, right? She did what she did. She grieves her own and mourns her own life.
Yeah.
Without being with her birth family. And so there's certain things that we will grieve about. It will be sad. But Mario, you are so right. When we get past that, when we get past our own expectations of how another person should be, we can enjoy who they are.
Yeah. You want to say that again? I think we can get that into we pay the fees for intellectual property. That's a good slogan statement.
Yes.
Say that one more time, DJ. You got that.
And I speak off my heart, so sometimes
that's what I had to make sure we got that one. Look, I'm like, oh, this is tasty.
Yes, when we lower our expectations of what we want a person to be, we can enjoy who they are.
Oh man, wow. That's a podcast episode. But man, that is beautiful. So if you could we're getting close to the top of the hour, and I know that different viewers will tune in at different times. So again, I just want to take a quick moment to again thank you to Tony Lynch and Dee and Tony Lynch, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, is Memories of Us podcast. Memories of Us podcast, an amazing podcast, helps primarily men who are grieving develop skills by listening to interviews and understanding that you're not alone. But for Tony and the team to develop this first global grief conference streamlined on multiple social media platforms around the world, 72 hours too, nonstop, amazing. Again, for Chicken Fox Production, the world-class connections. Again, I have to figure out where they're getting their bandwidth from, so I can ensure that I replicate that system. And then to the viewers, we couldn't make this happen without the viewers, the supporters, all of the presenters. Again, thank you so much. So I just, before we go a little bit further, I just want to take a moment, Deidre, to thank everybody. And again, Deidre Coach, my co-host, she's amazing. She's doing some amazing things. Deidre, real quick, if some listeners and viewers tuned in a little bit later than when we introduce ourselves, can you tell them real quick a little bit about yourself again? And then we're going to go to the second half. I got some questions for you.
Absolutely. I am Deidre Calcote, and I am the owner of Go Within, Not Without. And that's where I am a life coach. I am a brain spotting practitioner, and I am an author. I have written in the first book that's on my website is called Igniting the World with Our Voices. And I tell my story in there about being a late discovery adoptee. And I just completed a book that will be coming out next week, Mario, on Who Wouldn't Serve a God Like This. I was a co-author in
Nice.
that. And amazing stories of men and women who have overcome and have triumphed, and their stories of trauma and triumph. It's who wouldn't serve a God like this? And for anyone who is wanting more information, wanting to have a session of brain spotting with me, my website is Go Within Not Without. You can find me on Facebook. I even had nerve enough to be on TikTok.
But they say embrace new technologies. It doesn't matter what your skill level is.
You know, my last job, I worked most of my life in government, and I had a small team of young people that I worked with, and COVID hit. And so we had to go home, and we wanted to continue to train court-appointed special advocates to work with our children. And so every week there would be something new. We'd have to learn Zoom. We'd have to learn all these other things. And so, they'd get on there and they're like, Deidre, we doing this. And I'm like, okay, I got this. And they'd say to us, no, you don't, because you're not a millennial. I said, I keep telling y'all I'm just an old millennial. I learned I'd stay up late at night and learn how to do this and that, because it is important that we learn technology. And I love it. I just
Right.
love these things,
Right. And what'd you say? I'm seasoned. Come on, guys. Come on.
Can't beat me.
I'm seasoned. Right. Have real life experiences, team.
That's right.
And yeah, no, thanks. And then, ladies and gentlemen, the first half, we talked a lot about, again, what is defeating, right? What does the word defeating grief mean? And it's going to mean many things to many people. But what does it mean to you? And then I talked about what it meant to me, and Deidre, talked about what it meant to her. And then we shared some personal stories and some real life experiences that are relevant to how we have had to identify that we were grieving. Didn't even know we were grieving, right? And talk about certain things in our journey of life that we had to reflect and go, holy smokes, I was grieving. From a divorce or a death of a parent, or you name it. And then Deidre started to talk a little bit about brain spotting and how brain spotting is a way to go in the back of that organ called the brain, which doesn't have a delete button. I wish it did. I wish I could go, let me reboot. There are ways to reboot your brain, but we don't want that to happen. But and techniques and to not just run away from those traumas, whatever you define as trauma in your life, but to go into that brain, in the back of it, through art and science, to bring those what you call them capsules, right? Trauma capsules, I think you said, Deidre.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. So bring those trauma capsules back to the front. Let's address them through verbal, through talking, or not.
Right.
Acronym Deidre gave again was WAIT. Why am I talking? And to be able to address those traumatic capsules that's just been stored there, right? To own them, to go, you know what? I can't change it. I own it. And then to move forward in life to create more positive memories. Keep it in mind that those negative, right, those traumas will still stay there.
Right.
They're not going to disappear, but living and thriving and healing while grieving, and not having the grief really paralyze you and control your behaviors. Did I do a good job, Deidre, in summarizing the first half of our workshop?
You did an excellent job.
So So now let's get ready to transition into the second half of our workshop. In the second half, I really want to talk a little bit more deeper about brain spotting. It's some of your experiences with some of your clients. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, we are scheduled, right? We are scheduled to brain spot. Deidre's going to brain spot me in June. She's already done it, by the way. I mean, she has already. I got to. She has to invoice me so that way I can, get all these pro bono brain spotting sessions. But I'm already scheduled to do brain spotting in June. I'm so excited. So the second half, I want to get more into that, what you do, and some of your experiences and feedback. So give me an example, like, can you give me an example of how can someone brain spot? What are some of the techniques?
So let me tell you, there are different ways of doing brain spotting. We outside window, inside window, gaze spotting. We can spot on all kind of stuff. We can resource you. But let me give you a couple of examples. When I was in training, I was taught that you watch a person's body and eyes to see when they're activated, when you see something going on with them. So I'm with this young lady who has a bad connection, internet connection. And the coach comes in and says to her, turn your camera off. Now my eyes get big as quarters because I'm new. How you gonna turn her camera off? I can't see her eyes. Mario, brain spotting is so wonderful that I didn't need to see her eyes. I didn't need to see her at all. She needed to see my pointer. She needed to see my compassionate eyes, that I was there for her, that while she processed through whatever she was going through, I was going to be holding my pointer and I was going to be there for her. I was holding space. And there was no way that I could have done that without, in my mind, the camera on. Do you know she came out of that brain spotting knowing exactly what her next move was going to be?
Wow. So here it is. You're believing, right? You have this belief that how can I be effective if I can't see you? Is it after this transaction, your belief was proven false?
Real false.
Isn't science amazing?
Amazing. Mario, it went so well. And I'm one of those people, because of my past, who has a hard time believing I am worthy and that I'm doing good. And one day I've learned that somebody's proud of me and I'm proud of myself. But not only did that young lady figure out what she needed to do, she called her sister who lived here in my town and said to her, you need to brain spot with Deidre. So you don't do that if something ain't right.
Right.
And that's what I'm talking about. Brain spotting is so very effective. I brain spotted with a young lady, and she had been through some really hard trauma. And she's starting to understand some of the things that she saw and some of the things that happened to her. I will be talking to peer support, peers in child welfare who have lost their children due to drug abuse and other things and have gotten them back and are now supporting others. Mario, I haven't done this yet, but my understanding and what I've read is brain spotting can decrease the cravings of a drug addict.
Wow.
Now, you talk about grief. Can you imagine the mother or the father whose child is strung out? That's our old terminology. That are using drugs, that aren't able to live their lives because of their trauma. I can't wait until I can brain spot someone who is looking to decrease those cravings, who are looking to do other things with their life. Mario, I've learned how to brain spot with a child so that those children who have been abused and are now adopted or in foster care, what couldn't we do to support them to have a better life so that their trauma, so that they don't feel the way that I felt as a child thinking, my mother used to say to me, I hate the day I ever saw you. How do you heal that if you don't
Right.
get through the grief of, I was the ninth of 10 and the only one given up for adoption? All of those things, brain spotting can help us to heal. The grief of our community, COVID, people lost, the
Yeah.
things that are going on right now. We need to heal. We deserve to laugh and to thrive and to not let the grief eat us up. And that's why I'm doing this, Mario, because it's amazing.
Yeah, and when I do workshops through my Department of Labor job, we do assessments that
Mhm.
helps each attendee define gain a better understanding of their interests, their aptitude, and then their values, and then to try to get those three circles to line up, right in the middle, and we call that, the sweet spot where now you could pursue a career in 16 clusters and thousands of occupations that it's meaning for you. I preface my statement with that information is because watching you and getting to know you, Deidre, you're in your sweet spot. It's your passion. It's meaningful, which I think is important for the viewers and listeners to really see that there's a way, another way to defeat grief. I didn't say not get rid of grief. You're going to live with it. You can't, right? You like, my hair is gone. I can't go. Hair, grow back. You got to live with it. you know. so, so there's certain things. There's certain things, ladies and gentlemen. And grief is one of those things. No, it's natural. You got to learn to live with it.
That's right.
But but it's about defeating it, and it's about like Deidre just talked about, you know, being able to recognize it, defeating it by talking about it, and then finding your passion. You're right. Working in and living in your passion, your aptitudes, interests, and values, where not only have you identified some griefs, you're still grieving, but helping the rest of the world conquer, right, defeat grief because you're also passionate about what you're doing. And so when I see that, about you, Deidre, it's like, man, she is in her passion, and she's probably still grieving on certain things because it's so complex.
It's very complex. And let me tell you, as you say that, I my mother used to I don't want, I hope your audience, please don't think she was a villain. Look, I learned how to cook. I learned how to advocate. I learned a whole lot from my mama, but she had her foibles too. And she used to say to me, you lead with your heart. You need to stop leading with your heart. Mario, I can lead with my heart today and still love my mother, who could not lead with her heart because of whatever she was going through, whatever her grief was. And let me tell you, the joy I feel being able to say, "Yep, I love this. I love doing this." I'm so very happy, and I don't mean happy. I mean I love supporting others. I want joy for others. We can live a beautiful life. We just got to choose it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thanks again, Chicken Fox Production, for putting that on there. I appreciate you guys. You guys saw it. You want to capture some more of Mario and Deidre. It's right there in the banner. Big thing, unarmoredtalk.com on global. You guys can just put in the search engine. And then same thing with Deidre. There you go. Deidre Go Within, Not Without LLC. She's the founder, owner. She created that from a vision from her brain without brain spotting. Yeah, oh my goodness. And now here she is. And again, if you guys want to hear some more of Deidre, we got a podcast episode coming up. It's coming up May the 12th on Armored Talk podcast. Deidre is my guest. I am the host, of course, of Unarmored Talk, and you'll be able to catch that on audio and video. Apple Podcasts is the main platform, but you can pull it on any of your favorite audio podcast platforms, and then you can get it on YouTube or my YouTube channel. Put in Mario P. Fields YouTube in the search engine. It will pop up. My YouTube channel will pop up, and then go to that Unarmored Talk playlist. Look at those amazing videos, including the one that will be released May 12th, 2022. Well, time is May 1st, still in the East Coast, Eastern Daylight Time. It is May 1st. It is still April. It is still April in Mountain Time, in Arizona time. But now, Deidre, and I love how and I agree. I believe after going through this conference, listening to a lot of the speakers and workshops, learning a lot from you about brain spotting and grief, would it be safe to say, and I'll use that cliche, that the reason why I believe we always bring up the negative about people is because we're probably still grieving over some type of traumatic event associated with that person. Hence why your mom. I believe there's a lot of great things, but it's those, because I'm thinking about me and my relationship with my own dad. So would you think that is because, well, Mario, because we're grieving, because we're so hyper focused on those traumatic things?
That's a part of it, but there's another part for me, Mario, and that is healing and knowing who I am. I want those parts of my mother are somewhere in me because I see those because they're in me. And I want to bring them up to heal them as well. And that's a good point that you made. We don't tell people to get over their birth of a child. We tell people to get over the death, right? We don't tell people, oh, you look just like your mother. And we usually mean because they're beautiful, not because they're ugly.
Right, because if it's the opposite, we don't say nothing.
That's right. And sometimes it's,
you look just like your dad.
So we have to remember that. And yes, part of that is grieving, but the other part is trying to find that what we call the sweet spot of what do I have like mama? What's good about that? What did she do for me that was good that I can hang my hat on? And I find that more and more as I heal, I can see the good things. There were a time when all negative, mama couldn't do nothing right in my mind.
Mama just cured homeless people around the world. I don't care. She's still horrible.
That's right. That's right. And when you look at it, when I look at my mother, and that's part of what I wrote, my mother supported several young families adopting children.
Right. Yeah.
Adopting biracial children. And so she was the adoption agency on the south side of Chicago on 83rd and Wabash. But we forget that piece, and that's not the piece that needs to heal because we're proud of that. Right. That's not the piece that we grieve. right?
Yeah. Yeah, that, and you're right. And those aren't the pieces that have the potential to paralyze us. In when I use the word paralyze, what I mean by that is your thought process. The event becomes a barrier for you to make a decision to have positive progression and and development personally and professionally. And I agree that not even agree. It's not even up for disagreement. But I my beliefs are aligned with yours. Is that it's understanding and accepting those things that we define as a negative thing and a traumatic thing, and then going, let's focus on the other 8,000 good things someone has done. And one thing, Deidre, too, that you mentioned was self-awareness.
Mm.
Before we start to do this, how about do this? What they say, someone told me that when you point your finger at somebody, there's all of these fingers pointing back at you.
That's right.
And becoming self-aware, going, why do I feel this way? Why? And then d- um going through layers of thinking, not reacting, but thinking and answering that question in an empirical way, a scientific way, where it's not an opinion, where it's not like, why do I feel this way? Oh, I feel this way because when I was 6, I don't know. No, you're going, oh, wait a minute. Why do I feel? I don't even know why I feel this way. Then it's a false belief.
Yes.
Or maybe you're grieving
Yes.
and you've been stuck. You just didn't realize you've been stuck, and you're not aware that you've been stuck in that mindset and that thought process since the event occurred. That in that one event. I mean, I remember when my mom had unexpectedly passed away. My mom and dad were married for years. I mean, I want to say almost 50, 54 years. And but they were married for a while. And I remember right after my mom's funeral, my dad was grieving. Of course, I had no idea about grieving. I wish we would have this, Tony. Why didn't we have this conference 10 years ago? Shame on you, Tony and D. Chicken Fox Productions. Shame on you guys. Now I'm gonna stop before they cut. before this before we lose connection. But but seriously, and Dad and I'm getting ready to fly back to Okinawa, Japan, and we're in the driveway, and my dad goes, son, I lost your mother. There's nothing else to live for. And that stuck with me. And I'm going, Dad, you have 10 grandkids. You have 4 children. We're doing well. Your son, I've been in the Marines. I think at that time I had been in the Marines maybe 20, 22, 23 years. And I'm like, we're all doing well. I'm about to fly back to Japan, and you can't say, son, have a safe trip. I love you. I'm proud of you. How are you? You're the one who looks just like your mother. How are you doing? No, it was, it was. I don't have much to live for, and that stuck with me for about 3 years. And I started to realize, and now even going through this conference, Deidre, and listening to you, what I started to realize is that traumatic event caused me to grieve with multiple layers of emotions and never think about any good things my father has done since I was born, but just stay on he's selfish and how dare him. And no matter, even if he called me, it was like, yeah, you're still the same guy 3 years ago. And it's just amazing listening to you, thinking about what happens when you become more self-aware of you, lowering your expectations to go, Mario, just because your dad didn't grieve the way you thought he should, what you need to do is understand that's just his way of grieving. And then move forward from that. Yeah.
But Mario, let me say this. As you heal that, it's not about shaming yourself.
Right.
It's about saying, I did the best I knew to do at that time. Now I know better and I'm going to do better.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, as soon as we get done here in about 50 minutes, 40 minutes or something, call him. Nah. Now I'll wait till he wakes up.
And you know, it's amazing. It's a wonderful thing to be able to feel better about people and ourselves.
Yeah.
And again, this, you know, Brene Brown says shame cannot exist when it's spoken, because shame is something that we keep within, and that's the shame that eats us up. So I say, sometimes we're ashamed of our feelings about our mothers and our exes and whomever, ourselves.
Yeah.
And so we've got to get past that shame. You talked a little bit about your father said there was nothing more to live for. And I'm a suicide interventionist. And I just want to bring this up as we talk about that is no matter what your beliefs are, we got to hang on to those. But suicide is a perfect storm. A person believes they have nothing more to live for, nothing more to give. And I urge you in the audience to please understand that when people have lost all that they know, sometimes they go to the dark side. Doesn't mean they have to die, means we need to support them, not shame them. And I have to tell you, when I know better, I did better. My former husband had several attempts at suicide. And I will never forget one time I came home and he said he needed to go to the hospital. And Mario, I was so angry with him. Now, does it hurt me to this day? You can hear it in my voice. Yes, it does. Did I ask him for forgiveness? Absolutely. I became a suicide interventionist because of what I had gone through with my former husband. And I asked him if I could use those stories as I talk about my work. And he gave me permission. And so I tell you, we really, really don't want to lose anybody.
Yeah.
And if people are reaching out and talking, find someone to talk back to them.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, Deidre. And so I'm going to take a second, Deidre, and go into the comment section. So we got Tony Lynch out there who's tuned in. Tony, good seeing you out there. We have Letitia Richardson, who's also put some comments in the comment box. I don't even know where to start the healing process, you know. So thank you, Letitia, for removing your armor to talk about that. Yeah, Tony, I know. Tony, I know I'm crazy. You know, that's people put me in a search engine. There's a lot of things that come up. Trauma capsules, Tony put, and just sharing with you. These are some of the comments. Yeah, Tony, I know I'm before. You know, Tony, the interesting thing, Tony, is I was the only Marine, active duty Marine in my family, and when I would go to family reunions, they would say, "We still can't believe you're a Marine, let alone a Marine Jones starter, because you're the funniest cat in the family." You know, so yeah, Tony. Behind the scenes, I'm a comedian. I might go to Beverly Hills one of these days in Hollywood, open up my own comedy show. So I'll make sure you and Deidre up front. But yeah, and Tony even typed in suicide is such a messy beast. You know, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys get a chance, go on unarmoredtalk.com, right? Unarmored Talk Podcast. put it again in your search engine. You got it on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, or you can watch the video. Tony, I did an episode with Tony Lynch. Tony Lynch, you guys can check it out. I'll give you the title to it real quick here. That way you guys have it. It's called My 8-Year-Old Son Died Unexpectedly. How it affected me. Guys got to check it out because Tony talks about suicide. And thank you again, Tony Lynch, for removing your armor to talk about suicide. And Deidre, thank you for bringing that up because I believe it is a very deadly component of grieving. And I think grief is the root of it. It's the root of it. And so thanks, Tony. Let me see if there's any more comments. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in, watching globally, leaving comments. Again, Tony said trauma capsules. Love it. I tell you, right? Deidre's got some, Deidre's giving us some 5-7-star United Arab Emirates Dubai hotel style, nuggets. And just nuggets. I said trauma capsules. Nice. Got it. So again, I'm gonna check the comments and see if we got any more out there. Got some more, man. I love. No, thanks, Tony. Again, Tony, we love you. We love you. Hopefully you and Deidre can connect. Tony Lynch, Deidre, Kelco. Deidre, you gotta meet Tony. If you think I'm something else, wait till you meet Tony. Oh man. So just want to make sure we capture some of the audience comments. And again, Letitia Richardson, thank you so much for tuning in. I know, again, this is one of those hours that gets tricky. Our 2-hour time frame is a little tricky. It's late in Arizona. It's late in Mountain. And it's early here in the East Coast, ladies and gentlemen. I think when we're done with this, I'm going to go outside and cut the grass.
Your neighbors are going to get you.
Yeah, I'll get my cup of coffee and enjoy the little things of life. Right. So again, I'll continue to check the comments. So Deidre, and thank you for bringing that up. Thank you because I didn't think about it. And the interesting thing about when you brought up the suicide component, how it relates to grief. And and owning your past and understanding grief, which is very complex. What I found out was my dad was extremely suicidal. And the one thing he had communicated to me, was he said that he thanked goodness that all the weapons that were in my mom and dad's house, he had sold them. He got rid of them as he was cleaning out the house. To sell the beautiful home, by the way, beautiful home. But he said he was so depressed and he was grieving so deeply that for him, the only alternative choice was suicide.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And I like how you said, find people to talk to. And even if you can't find them, find a way. But there are more choices than an emotional reaction, which is called suicide while grieving. Easy to say, but tough. And again, Tony Lynch episode, prime example. People see Tony today, but Deidre, you got to check out that episode. So you brought it up and you really got me spun up on it at these wonderful hours. So,
Mario, wait, before we move on, can I just say this, please?
Absolutely, please.
It is hard to stay on the dark side with people who are talking suicide, but you can save their life. And so I would say to your audience and to you and to me, don't be afraid. Look, saying to somebody, are you having thoughts of harming yourself?
Right.
Doesn't make them want to harm themselves. But if you can bring that up and they are having those thoughts and you can say to them, okay, let's make a plan. Let's keep you safe. Because when those who don't want to live are not going to talk. They're going to do the act. But sometimes people are looking for a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Yeah.
And so if we walk beside that person, and that's what I learned to do, let me tell you, it ain't easy. I'm not going to tell you any of this is easy.
Right.
But when you can rock and roll with somebody on the dark side, you can bring them to the light.
Yeah. Yeah, no, thanks, Deidre. Again, very, very, very important topic. And it's something that we deal with um daily around the world. And Tony just typed in very true. I'd rather tell you than have you guess. Doesn't mean I'm gonna do it. Right. Absolutely. And that was a comment, Deidre, um from from Tony. Now, the other interesting thing that I thought about as we're going through this conference and this amazing 72 hours of people who care about people. A lot of the presenters and facilitators for the workshops are in some shape, fashion, or form grief counselors. But the thing I want to talk about in our last about 20 something minutes is just because we are in the grief, pathway, or in helping people overcome grief, does not mean we're not grieving. I think sometimes people believe that if you're a doctor, you can't get sick. If you're the right, if you're the doctor, there's no way you can get sick because you're a doctor, so you know how to really take care of yourself. Or if you're the Marine, there's no way you can cry. You're a Marine, you can't cry. You're a grief counselor. You have all the tools and experience and skill sets to help other people. But you may be still grieving. I think a lot of the counselors are grieving. Some of the counselors, I'm talking myself, I won't talk about other counselors. I even know that even through this workshop, I have identified more things through brain spotting and through listening and why am I talking? Going, Mario, you've been grieving over that. What do you think?
You know what? I totally agree with you. And here's what I will tell you:
Yeah.
support, counselors, grieve, therapists, psychologists, leaders. That's why brain spotting is so good, because you don't have to talk about those things, but you can also heal them. We need, because I'm considered myself a helper, we need people around us to help us to heal as well. Right?
Right.
Let me tell you, I got folks around me to keep me honest. Deidre, we need, and weekly I meet with my own brain spotter.
Wow. See
We
that? Wow.
Because I go to get a massage, and sometimes that's for prevention, right? I go to acupuncture for prevention. I need to go and talk to someone, or now with Zoom and all, I need someone in my life that I can talk to who is going to say, okay, we need to brain spot that. Okay, let's talk about it. Okay, let's heal it. Whatever it is, we too need people in our lives to keep us healthy. Because here's the other part of it, Mario, is that limbic transference. So as I talk to you about my pain, it's going to touch you in some way.
Right.
We've got to not allow it to harm us. So we've got to bubble ourselves as a person who is supporting others, so
Right.
we don't harm, so that we can stay healthy to continue to help others, right?
Yeah. And I like how you said, Mario, I have someone that brain spots with me, and because again, and thanks, Deidre, for highlighting that, because I know my belief is Deidre is a qualified, credentialed brains spotting, right, um, you know, professional. But who brain spot Deidre? And I just thought about that during our workshop. Is if you're helping me, who's helping you?
Yep.
And
Yes.
and, and like Tony put in the comments, we all need someone. We
Yes.
can't go into isolation and defeat grief and own our past isolated. Um, I believe that isolation really supports grief in a bad way.
Yes.
What's your thoughts on that? When you isolate yourself, and I know for me, when I got out of the military, believe, and I'm I love people. I just it's in my bones. I love humans, but for some odd reason, when I got out, I enjoy being alone.
Hmm.
And I got to the point where I was like, man, I really want to be alone. When my wife would go to work and my son would go to work, and I had the house all to myself for the first time in my life, I was excited to be alone. And now that I think back to that, and I thought about that the last few days, I'm like, okay, why? Let's ask yourself why. Let's become self-aware. And you don't have to talk. Why am I talking? There was no talking. Let's go into that brain and let's see if we can navigate and figure out why. And when I started to lean on other people in my network, like kind of Tony had said in the comments, we all need someone. And like you, Deidre, like you said, we lean on people. You need someone. When I started to lean on people, and when I started to open up and talk to other people, that's when I had discovered, first of all, Mario, that's depression.
Yes.
I was like, I'm depressed. Yes.
Hmm.
And then being aware and going, okay, I'm going to accept that. Not, no, I'm not depressed. Come on. And Deidre, how many times have you tried to help somebody and they were in denial?
Oh yeah, and that's why brain spotting works, because I ain't got to tell you you depressed. You gonna find that out for yourself.
And would you say it's like one of them self-assessments? I'm not the one who said that you like to write.
Exactly.
Don't get mad at me because the career scope assessment said you're good in skilled trades.
And let me, as you said that, let me tell you, I grew up with in a strong Black community, and my mother was a strong Black woman, and she
Yeah.
ruled the roost. And I had those qualities. Do you know my daughter was 18 years old before she ever saw me cry? Now,
Wow.
mind you, we went through all kinds of stuff. I told you, with
Right.
my former husband, I never cried. And when I cried, I will never forget, she lost it. She didn't know what to do. Her mama was showing vulnerability. I can't say that word right tonight.
No,
But
actually, you got it right.
and so that we don't need to do that. That's one of the things I look back and I did a disservice to my child,
Yeah.
thinking her mother was so strong that nothing could touch her. And there was nothing further from the truth. I
Right.
mean, I'd go in the bathroom so my child didn't see me cry.
Yeah.
When
And,
we know better, we do better, right? I didn't know any better.
yeah, absolutely. And then now we're at the point, and I love this. I really did. You guys probably heard me say it so many times, but I love these platforms like this global, grieving conference
Mhm.
where it makes us think.
Yeah.
It starts to remove those emotional reactions, and
Yes.
it helps us develop a thought process to go, why did I believe that crying in front of another person was a sign of weakness. And then the brain spot that thing without even saying a word. And then to come to a conclusion, like you, Deidre. Matter of fact, what was your conclusion again, or why?
Because every woman before me
Hmm.
was strong. I never saw them cry.
Learn behavior.
Learned behavior. You ever heard of that? The young person asked their mother, why did they cut off the end of the ham?
Yeah.
And they put it in the container at Thanksgiving or Easter, whenever they do. And they didn't know why. They just always saw their mothers cut off the butt of the ham. So the mom asked her mother, why did you cut off the butt of the ham? And the woman says, because I didn't have a big enough pan.
and everybody thinking this some folklore.
Exactly.
It's you got folks going, well, let me tell you why grandma didn't cut
Right.
that off, because in 1816.
That's right.
A
So we
great
have to talk.
part of the spiritual strength of the Fields family.
And Dr. Bruce Perry says, you don't ask people, why are you acting that way? You ask them, what happened to you?
Yeah,
What
good.
happened to you?
Wow. Not why, but and it makes sense too, because it goes back to the first half of our workshop. And man, time is just, I knew it would. I knew we would have so much. Deidre, I knew. Tony, Letitia, we were going to advocate to give Deidre and I 4 more hours. No, we got, because it goes back to the first part of the workshop where we talked about, just because someone grieves in a way that is not aligned with your expectations does not mean they're not grieving. And you just, it's a learned behavior. And listening to you talk about what you saw, they didn't cry, so why should I cry? Or everyone in the church cried because so and so passed away, but so and so one didn't even cry.
Yes.
What's wrong with them?
Yep.
What's I always knew Mario didn't have it all.
Exactly. Yes.
Mario might be grieving, and what we may need to do is, like you said, Deidre, not why aren't you crying? Your grandfather passed away.
Yeah.
Why aren't you sad? Instead of going, why are you? Or how did you rephrase that question again? That was good.
What happened to you?
Yeah, what happened?
What happened to you? Because I can tell you, I've been this Mario has been amazing, and I haven't said it. This is a wonderful conference. I've had to deal with my own coming up grief again about things as I prepared for this.
Yeah.
And I had to think about that. What happened to me?
What
I've
happened?
been I've been deathly afraid of death until recently. What happened to me that made me feel that way? Why am I not comfortable that this is a transition that is being made? Why haven't I developed my beliefs about this? What beliefs do I have around it? And those are things that we don't want to think about. We want to stuff them. And that's not good. Not good.
Yeah, and I'm looking in the comments here, and I got Mario, meet my little sister Letitia. She's in Virginia. Wow, nice. And Letitia put, thanks, and I'm virtually so excited. We are excited to meet you. And she put, I didn't cry at my mom or dad's funeral. Letitia, if we may, and put in the comments in the chat, did anyone notice that you didn't shed a tear? And did they go, what's going on with Letitia? What's her problem? That's your mom and dad. Did you get some feedback? I won't put the word negative or positive. Feedback is feedback.
That's right.
I'm interested if you could put that in chat, kind of how did people react because you were grieving, right? Your way of grieving and dealing with that. Yeah, she just put it in there. I don't know if you can see it, Deidre.
I can't.
Okay, yeah. So she put in the comments, she said, yes, they talked about me something terrible, which probably made the trauma worse.
Yes. And the grief worse.
And the
And
grief.
that's what we have to remember. We can't stuff it. We've got to understand, and we've got to be kinder to our fellow human beings about things like this. And Mario, just the opposite happened too, right? When people cried too much, like on the Sanford and Son, the empty wagon makes a lot of noise or something like that, they used to say.
You crying way too much.
Right. So you can't win, right?
Right. And also, and don't let it be a random man or woman. Why they crying so much about Deidre?
That's right.
Hey Mara, you good? How long have you known Deidre?
That's right. Looking out the side eye.
I mean, how long? I mean, you cried a lot.
Why you still grieving over her?
What's the connection? Yeah, that's interesting. And Letitia put, yeah, because I didn't cry, they said that meant I didn't love them. And then
Right.
when in all reality, I cried every night. Absolutely cried. She put, I cried every night, turned to alcohol to ease the pain.
Yes.
And wow, yeah,
You know, that's what we're told when people die,
absolutely.
right? Don't what you know, you don't have to act like that. Don't, you're okay. You're gonna be all right. Suck it up. No, don't
That,
suck it up. Cry.
yeah,
Feel your feelings. And because it's already a traumatic situation when somebody passes away in your life. And that
yeah,
adds more to it, right? That adds more grief and more trauma. Feel those feelings, let them go.
right, right. And then great comment, from Chicken Fight Production. I don't know if that's Nathan or not, but great comments. And it's it said the parents made us strong. Then people get mad because we're strong.
Yeah.
And then it is. I was always told to man up. And Letitia, Letitia put, hey Tony, thanks Tony, great, thanks. That's Tony. Yeah, um, and Letitia put, people are so cruel, and like Tony said, was always told to man up. But going back to what Deidre brought up, and I love this workshop, taking the belief of why are they doing this to me? Why are they treating me this way? Changing the thought process to what happened to them, and gaining a better understanding of why people develop this behavior through their own experiences, realizing that it's really not directed towards you,
That's right.
has nothing to do with you. You're just in the audience.
That's right.
And I share that because when I'm 5'2.5" according to the VA, and I'm shrinking. So what I use, so Letitia and Tony, growing up as a short male has its own unique challenges. But what I used to realize is I used to grieve a little bit about that until I started to think that why would tall people, men and women, not all of them, but why would some of them try to make short jokes? And I used to think they're cruel. But then I started to realize they had some self-esteem issues,
That's
and
right.
there was other complexities that they were dealing with. So to make them feel more confident in their own griefs and everything else, they had to try to use me, but it was really their issues.
That's right. And Mario, that let me tell you this. Um, when I met some of my birth family, they asked me, "How tall are you?" And I said, very proudly, "I'm 5'3.5." And my sister called one of my brothers and said, "Ask Deidre how tall she is." And I'm thinking, what's wrong with these folks? And what I found out was my mother used to say, "I'm 5'2" and don't forget the half. So when I heard that, can you imagine how that made me feel? I stood taller because I said something my mama used to say. And so, depending on what we're told about our past, it can either be good or bad, right? And so
Absolutely.
sometimes we've got to find our way through this.
And one way is brain spotting. One way. And Deidre, we have about 13 minutes left. And so I would definitely like to open the chat up for any discussions on the last half. Ladies and gentlemen, again, Deidre Kelcoat, Go Within, Not Without LLC. She's a brain spotting practitioner. You guys can find her. Where again can they find you, Deidre?
My website is Go Within, Not Without. They can find me on Facebook. I have this group name, Go Within, Not Without. I'm under my name there as well. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. That's about it.
Man, I'm not even on TikTok. I gotta get this out, DJ. I gotta get on TikTok.
Come on, Mario, it's fun. Listen, this is why I did it. When I first started, I was in a personal development class through Proctor Gallagher, and you had to find a way to do PR. And I didn't want to do it because I worked for the government, it was out there. And I needed to learn to get my point across succinctly in a very short period of time. And when I first started doing TikToks, it was only for 1 minute. And now it's 3 minutes. And I just think I'm the bee's knees now, because that 1 minute I'd be like this. And now I
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. When they say my video went viral on TikTok, I'm gonna have to get on TikTok, but I'm gonna make sure my video's clean, y'all.
yeah, mine are clean. All of them are clean. Ain't no dancing yet, but you just wait. I'm gonna be on there dancing and really enjoying myself soon.
We only live once, ladies and gentlemen. Again, Deidre Kelcoat, my amazing co-host. I don't have one of those professional buttons with the clap, so I'm, you listen to your Sirius XM radio, something like that. They hit the button, everybody clapping. And then I'm Mario P. Fields, the host of this 2-hour block on this amazing 72-hour global grief conference around the world, streamed on multiple social media platforms. You guys can put Mario P. Fields in the search engine. It will all come up. But the key thing is what's relevant on ArmorTalk.com, on Armor Talk Podcast. Remove your armor to talk about something you would not normally talk about, to help today's generation of humans and generations to come. You can catch us on, again, Apple and all your favorite listening platforms. And then you can go on my YouTube channel at Mario P. Fields YouTube. Click on that channel, subscribe. Got some amazing subscribers. And then go on that playlist, Unarmored Talk playlist. And you get everything there and more. There's more about me, but we'll be here all night.
Mario, you are amazing, and I thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of Unarmored Talks, to be here with you tonight. It really, really means a lot to me that we get to talk about what's important. And yes, what we have taught, brain spotting, but grief and how to heal and how to support others. And let me tell you, Unarmored Talks, man, oh man, you're doing some great stuff there.
You know the running joke in my house.
I'm trying to be serious.
You know the running joke in my house. There's Oprah, and then there's Bropra. I'm the new Bropra. I love you, Oprah. I really love her, and she is my idol. But somebody's got to take her spot. His name is Bropra. My wife said, "Ah, it's like Broke Brother." So let me go. So we got about 9 minutes left. So let's go over to the comments. So Tony said it's honestly not personal. We only do what we know until we make a decision to do better. Sometimes I made fun of my sister because, well, I'm her brother, and because I was a string bean kid, she was my best friend. And then Tony, TikTok is fun, addicting, and it has a bigger reach. So I'm definitely going to get on TikTok. Letitia Richardson, we love you for tuning in at this late hour, wherever you're tuning in from. If you could just actually tell us what part of the world are you tuning in from, Letitia, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. All right. And thank you. And brother, you're amazing. Thanks. Appreciate it. Let me see. Tony said, thank you, baby girl, as they be the change you want to see. He was, and then Letitia said he was mean. Tony was mean. We got a brain spot, Tony.
Call me, Tony. Call me. Let's do it.
Wow, Letitia's on from Newport News, Virginia. Go Virginia and go Eastern Daylight Time. Happy May 1st, Letitia. You're hanging in there with me. Happy May 1st. Tony's laughing his butt off. Yeah, we're gonna have to. Yeah, Tony. We're gonna have to. Yeah, because Letitia's got some grieving from you, Tony.
Hey, I can do brain spotting with the two of them.
Tony said let me see, this has such an amazing comment. Yeah, Tony, this is amazing. I mean, Tony came up with this vision months ago. I still remember you reached out to me and you said, Mario, would you be honored? Oh, absolutely. Oh man. And then Letitia said, I might need that too. Let me see. And then Tony said, oh no, she'll get me in trouble.
No trouble. No.
This is cool. This is cool. So again, ladies and gentlemen, the first half, we talked about many things, but I want to highlight three things the first half of this workshop. Number one, gaining a better understanding of what is grief. And then becoming more self-aware of yourself. And if you don't mind, Deidre, you can pick a third point you want to highlight. I'll pick the second one. Number two, and I love what Deidre said. Number two is understanding your expectations of other people, but not putting your expectations on other people. And that way you can love them for who they are, not who you believe they should be. Go ahead, give us that third point.
And that means you are your highest and best, and so are they. But the third point to me is that we understand we're going to all grieve at some point in our lives. Don't compare your grief to somebody else's. Yeah. I know you said 1 point, Mario, but I got one more.
Oh no, we got a little time. That's why I do this, because we got some time, Cox. I got a question for you that came in the chat.
Okay. And because I say get some support, whether it is talk therapy, whether it's brain spotting, whether it's EMDR, meditating, whatever it is, let's heal, because we deserve that, because our community deserves that, because it's about love.
Yeah. Wow. And so a little bit of time left on the clock. Letitia, she missed what brain spotting is. So within the next 3 minutes, Deidre, can you give her a quick Reader's Digest, and then how can she connect with you and find out more?
Yes. What I will tell you is brain spotting is a therapeutic modality that supports healing of trauma. It gets you out of your neocortex and into your reptilian and mammalian brains where the feelings are, that will help you to heal the trauma that's there. And some people don't like to call it trauma. It could be anything. It could be brain spotting to understand what your next goal is, where you want to go, all kinds of things, to know that your loved one on the other side is okay. Whether you have a faith or whatever your belief is, we can connect that with brain spotting. And I am willing to. Was it Tony or Leticia that needed to?
It was Letitia.
Letitia, please don't hesitate to contact me, and we can talk about this. And I would be willing to give you a complimentary brain spotting session.
Nice.
I'd be more than happy to do that.
Nice. No, thanks. I think she got it. So that was amazing. Thank you so much, and thank you for giving a complimentary brain spotting for Letitia, who's connected to Tony Lynch, who's one of the. She said, thank you. Nice. You just put a smile on my face at 1:57 Eastern Daylight Time. Deidre smiling in Arizona. I think the high was like 150 today. No.
Close.
Well, we have about 4 minutes left, Deidre. Any closing remarks to the global audience?
Thank you. Thank you for this platform. Thank you for what you're doing. And please find someone to heal with. If it's me, let's do this. If it's someone else, let me help you find them if you need them. I want people to thrive like I am. I'm having so much fun in life. Let's do this. Let's heal our community and our world.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm thankful for the pandemic in certain ways. One, to develop a level of comfort that it is okay for us to build relationships in virtual platforms.
Yes.
And quickly expand our network through virtual means. Where I believe if the pandemic did not occur, Deidre, we would have probably never met.
I agree.
I believe that. But so again, grieving, right? Creating opportunities in moments of crisis. Just because something we may think is negative, we change our thought process and make a positive, like Deidre said, create a new memory. And I am so thankful. This was awesome. I am so thankful that you were my co-host. This was a fast 2-hour workshop.
It was. Thank you so much.
Yeah, let me see in the comments. Let me see. Be sure. Let's see. My brother from South Africa, such an amazing person. Wow. So the next presenter that's coming up is from South Africa. That's up next. So they just put in the chat. Make sure see if we can check him out as well. And I'll get his links as well. In the chat. 60 seconds left. Hi, hello. I'm gonna put hi in the chat as well. Hello, and we are getting out of your way within seconds. Your way. Well, we're gonna maximize our time.
Mario, God bless you, and thank you so much for what you are doing to support others in their healing.
No, I truly appreciate you, Deidre. And please stay cool in Arizona. I'll keep the humidity away from you. You just keep that dry 150-degree heat away from me.
That's a deal.
That's a deal?
Yeah, because my hair can't take too much of that humidity. And I grew up in Chicago.
Look, and my hair can't either. We'll leave the listeners and viewers as we get put on backstage here in seconds with a smile. Y'all see they can't.